I don't know if you saw Madison Cawthorn,
Oh God.
the Republican Nazi senator from North Carolina, the guy that's in the wheelchair.
Mhm.
He released a statement saying like he was invited to some Republican cocaine orgy.
Yeah.
I laughed for about 15 minutes after hearing that. And what's so funny to me is like Republicans came out and denounced that. And I'm like, of all the things to denounce that you stayed quiet on, including the insurrection.
Yeah.
Him saying I was invited to a cocaine orgy is where you guys are suddenly clutching your pearls. I mean,
House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy came down harder on Madison Cawthorn than he did on anybody else.
Then he came down on the insurrectionists.
Yeah.
I was like, this party has really lost their minds. First of all, why would you even invite that guy to an orgy? I mean, no offense, but
it was some kind of sick shit y'all are trying to do with him in his wheelchair or something.
Bro.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
y'all are trying to do something weird.
I mean, shouldn't he be flattered he was invited?
Invited him because like there's some kind of fetishization shit y'all are doing.
And he's a compulsive liar, so we don't even know if that's true. Like this guy has like lied about accomplishments. He's lied about things that have happened to him. He lied about service in the military. A couple of women came out and said he like sexually assaulted them in college. This guy is your stereotypical like preppy rapist.
Yeah, because he has not been disabled his whole life. This happened after like a car accident or something.
Right. And I mean, this guy's just an absolute garbage man in a number of ways. And I just find it funny that where the Republicans were suddenly like outraged is when he said he was invited to a specifically Republican orgy. Like he made a point to say it was Republicans who invited him. I found that hilarious. I was like, this is where they decide to eat their own. How come they're so weird about sex? They'll tolerate an insurrection. They'll tolerate closet homosexuals. They'll support lunatics and idiots, but they draw the line at orgies.
Well, yeah, I think they've done a lot to brand themselves as the anti-science, anti-sex party for the last like 50 years.
Who in their right mind wants to be known as the anti-sex party? I mean, that does not sound like a fun party. So, I mean, this guy should have been like grateful they were even throwing a good party because it doesn't even sound like they're into that. But apparently they are. And that's where they were outraged. So it sounds like the Republicans are going to be backing his opposing candidate that's running against him. Which means that the tides have turned a bit against him, unless, of course, he can navigate back and drink the cult juice and get back in the Republicans' good graces. But right now, he is not in their good graces. And it is rumored that the Republican Party is throwing their support behind the person who will run against him.
And then he like
or the Republican candidate.
He's also not even 30. So like, yeah
he's a kid.
You're in over your head, and you've been lying your ass off to get to this point, and it's worked up until now.
You've cheated and lied to get, and it got to this point because you're relatively good looking to those people, and you had good presentation.
He says the right things most of the time. You said
the right things. You do the Nazi Hitler salute that they all are into right now, or whatever. Great, congratulations. I mean, let's not forget North Carolina had one of the highest Ku Klux Klan memberships in the nation at one point. So he's in his element. Good luck. I bid you farewell, fair maiden. Hopefully he's on his way out, but who's to say that the person that they support isn't more of a lunatic than this guy is? So, I think this next election cycle will be very interesting because unless Trump runs again, DeSantis is probably in the lineup.
Oof.
Who would he run against? If he runs against Kamala, it'll be a blowout because people always vote for white men over women. And let's not forget, Kamala did not poll well when she ran for president on her own. She didn't poll well. She was the first one out.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of white Democrats that are not going to vote for Kamala that would probably vote for like Pete Buttigieg or whatever.
Yeah, it's not like all the women who voted for Hillary voted for Kamala. They didn't.
Right.
They didn't come out for her.
Pete Buttigieg, seems to be very, very presidential.
I think that guy's got a future, man. He's a super smart guy. I mean, he polls 0 with Black people, but he's owned that. He doesn't pretend that he's like, I get it now. And he's not like out there trying to break dance in a pair of like Adidas, which I also appreciate. I mean, he's like, I've got work to do in this area. But I mean, overall, I think he's a very intelligent guy. I think he's got a very good understanding of policy, economics. I think he understands very much white Americans in a more intellectually savvy kind of way. I'm not going to be surprised if we don't see him again in the future.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I remember the point I was going to say about Cawthorn and also McCarthy. They have figured out that it is very easy to use culture war than policy for anything. And that's how Cawthorn,
Yeah, because culture war is a lot easier than policy because policy requires thinking.
Yeah. And policy requires performance. You actually have to say, here are my ideas and here's why they're going to help you. And then when you get elected, you have to say, here's what I did to help you.
Right. Culture wars are easy. I don't like you. You don't like me. I don't like that you should do this. I don't like I don't like the way you're dressed. I don't like who you're sleeping with. I don't like it's easy, right? It's a no-brainer. You don't have to chew. It just goes down your throat like applesauce. When you think about policies, you actually have to gnaw on it. You have to understand the layers that contribute to something. It's not as cut and dry as this person should do this person should do not. I don't like this. I don't like that. It's not rudimentary in any way. And it requires actual thought. You actually have to read books. You have to understand the history and the culture of a place in order to sift through appropriate policies. But who has time for that? They're trying to pay bills and decide whether or not, Will Smith is a feminist or not. It's ridiculous.